Hey, welcome to the Drep and Stone podcast, the podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
Kyle.
Hey, Nick.
How are you this week, man?
Doing well.
Yeah?
Thank you.
We are very squarely in December.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not squarely. We're
December's
tiptoeing
round?
into it.
Nah, okay, sure. Right
As
now
we're
we're recording it. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, when this episode releases, we're in mid-December.
Yeah, squarely in it, I would say.
What?
I would say squarely in December.
Or roundly if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or triangular.
Pointedly.
Sure. I mean, okay, it is not December. I guess, would it be the 16th? Is the mid-December, really?
Probably the morning of the 16th.
Right, okay. So I guess we're not squarely in December.
Targetedly.
Correct. We are still in the beginning of December as this episode. It's December, Kyle.
Yeah, it is December.
It is the last of the Burr months.
The final of the Burr.
Yeah, how you feeling about it?
You know, it's good. I'm in a good spot with the Burr months.
Good.
They have not disappointed. They've been great.
Yeah.
And we've still got a whole one to go.
It's been a little chilly in our parts, and it has felt a little burr.
Yeah.
It's been kind of nice.
It has been quite nice because we don't usually get it this chilly this early.
No, which
has been nice.
Gives me some hope for the January, February season.
Yeah, we can just keep rolling along with this.
Now that we've talked about the weather and we've talked about the month, it feels right.
Yeah.
Should we drink something?
Sure.
What do you want to drink?
I don't know. Let me get these prunes out of the way.
Good.
I think we should probably have some whiskey.
Whiskey sounds great. What kind of whiskey do you want?
I'm leaning towards a Scotch.
Is it that season?
Yeah.
I was debating.
Really
I was debating
really
with myself the other day. I was going to have a pour.
Yep.
And I'm like, I think now I'm like any season, Scotch season. But is it squarely Scotch season? Speaking of squares,
it feels like it is.
It feels like
just because the way that our whiskey journey has allured us.
Allured?
Led us along.
Sure.
But tempting.
Allured
us through.
Yeah.
Our whiskey season.
Okay.
That's just where we I think discovered Scotch.
Sure. So we associate it's associations.
Holiday
right.
Around this time of year. So
okay.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
I'm glad that you agree with my
agreement of what I said
when I agreed the thing that let's drink.
Yeah.
Something.
All right.
And what are we drinking?
Several months ago.
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute.
Okay.
I picked up I'm partial to the Craigellachie.
Yeah.
Do love a good Craigellachie.
Not?
Found this one. Jeez, it's been so long. I don't even remember where I found it.
Was it in the summer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Don't know where I came across this one. I genuinely don't now. It's been that long. But found the Craigellachie 13.
Okay.
The Speyside single malt Sculch that we love. Sculch. But this one is finished in Armagnac.
Armagnac casks.
Armagnac cask finished.
Does it say how long? You got a little bit of a novel in the back. Before I ask questions, just go ahead and read it.
Okay.
Armagnac
cask finished. It explains the worm tubs.
Okay.
That Craigellachie uses.
Yeah.
I imagine that.
I've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like their normal process.
Uh-huh.
But it adds on the finishing in Armagnac barrels.
Yep.
Rounds our robust Craigellachie. Baked apples dusted with cinnamon and notes of caramel shortcake are offset by signature scroopy pineapples and fiery bonfire night aromas.
Interesting.
A contradiction in a glass.
Yeah. Okay. So it's finished, but we don't know how long they're finished in Armagnac casks.
Doesn't say that. No.
Okay. So my assumption is, and I don't know this for sure.
A long weekend?
Maybe. Splash it in there, yeah. Or just rub
Swirl
it. Exactly. And dump it out.
Done. All right, doing some research.
Yeah.
What did you find out about aging here?
So regular Craigellachie is aged in bourbon and sherry casks.
Okay.
And
Makes
that's
sense.
13 years. And then again, when you throw around the word blending, people get their blenders all in a blended.
Right. Their feelings get blended.
Correct. And so, but that's let's be honest, that's what they're doing. They are taking liquid and they're marrying that liquid together.
Right.
Which a synonym would be blending, but I digress.
Right.
That's the regular Craigellachie, which is delightful. So what they're doing then is they're taking the regular Craigellachie and then they're resting it in the Boss Armagnac cask for just over a year.
Interesting.
So are they taking it out of the ex-bourbon and sherry and then at 12 years and then aging it for another year? I don't know what that process is exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But no non-chill filtered, no caramel coloring added, and they're bottling it at 46.
There you go. Which, is just interesting because, like you just said, we've got a little bit of Craigellachie 13, just their normal bottling.
Yeah.
And it is a few shades darker.
It is. The regular is darker.
Than the Armagnac.
Yeah. I wonder if
barrels.
it's because, is there more bourbon in the regular Craigellachie? Because based on just color alone.
Right.
No science.
Right.
Just
Right.
color. My assumption is then they're taking the bourbon and sherry, the liquid out of the bourbon and sherry casks, and then putting it in the Armagnac cask, which is not giving it a whole lot of color.
Right.
So that extra year is probably adding a little bit more color. Maybe.
Who knows?
Is the regular Craigellachie 46 as well?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, we can kind of throw these against each other, see what changes
Let's do it.
within the Armagnac,
Yeah.
the Boss
The
Armagnac.
Armagnac.
Old bottle first.
Thum. While you're pouring up, I'm going to do a little bit of talking. So Armagnac is a kind of brandy. It's a French brandy. It comes from the Armagnac region. Excuse me. So you have Cognac, which is a brandy. It comes from the Cognac region. You have the Armagnac region, which is in Gascony. That's the region from which Armagnac obviously gets its name. There you go.
New bottle pop.
So because it is brandy, my assumption is we're going to get a lot of sweet notes from those Armagnac casks. And the big difference that I could find between Armagnac and Cognac is that Cognac tends to be those big name producers like Hennessy and Courvoisier, people like that, whereas Armagnac is a little smaller kind of bespoke producers. So that's why you don't hear that as often.
For
in
sure.
In that same realm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, assume that I was just pouring whiskey and I wasn't listening.
Sure.
Armagnac is what?
It's a brandy.
It's a brandy, just like Cognac is a brandy.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just two different regions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what the big distinguishing notes are between Armagnac and Cognac because I'm not well versed in that. But
Sure.
I do know because they're a brandy, it is a distilled spirit from grapes.
Right.
So you're just going to get, or theoretically, because we haven't tasted it yet, you're going to get different grapey notes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. Start with the 13? The regular 13.
Sure.
That's what I think is kind of fun about it is they're same age statements still.
Yeah.
So it should be more easily identifiable in terms of, or I guess just more understandable about where different flavors are coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like an extra age or anything like that.
And the proof's the same, so you're not getting any sort of weird things going on there.
Right. Being the same age statement, you'll be able to really understand what's the cask doing.
Yeah. So I wonder because, okay, you have to put the age of the youngest whiskey on the bottle.
Sure.
Is it possible that there is older whiskey in this 13-year Armagnac bottle and that then they're resting it after that, but because that's the youngest whiskey that's being then rested in the Armagnac cask, that it's still 13? You see what I mean?
I understand what you're saying, but we can say definitively no.
Why?
Because it is a single malt scotch. Doesn't that mean it has to come from the same season?
No. Just literally it's a single malt.
It just has to be from the same grower?
It's a single malt. That's all it has to be.
Oh.
It's a single malted grain.
Oh. Okay. So there's just no mash bill. It's
Correct.
just
Well, the mash bill would be
100%
whatever
malted barley.
Yep.
Oh. Boring. I thought that distinction was over there too.
Nope.
All right.
Sorry.
So then we definitively cannot say that.
Which is why you get the weird releases of Lagavulin and individual casks of this scotch and that scotch. It's because those are in some ways rejects for the actual blend. So
because they've got something funky on them.
Right. So they got something weird and or this, we just can't figure out how to make that work in our, what becomes.
It has too much influence when we put it in the batch.
Right.
So
we have to do something with it.
We have to create a special label and charge more for it. Got it.
Correct.
It's really smart. It's really smart.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall.
Okay. You said regular Craigellachie first.
Regular Craigellachie 13.
Okay.
First.
Did I tell you that I went to the Craigellachie distillery?
No, I don't think you did, actually. In all of your stories, I don't think I ever heard that you went to Craigellachie.
Because it doesn't exist. Literally, it's a distillery. That's all that's there.
All right, now I'm confused.
Yeah.
All right, so you went to the place where they distill it.
I went into the parking lot.
Right, and there's nothing to do. You can't get out.
Nah, you can't
go in.
Nope.
There's nobody to talk to, kind of a thing. There's no visitor center.
Mm-mm.
But it exists.
Oh, yeah. I don't mean it doesn't exist. It exists.
It just doesn't exist in a realm of
just ain't nothing to do there.
Right.
Yeah.
You went to the Craigellachie distillery. You just didn't go into their visitor center. Because they don't have one. I got you. Not even a shop or anything where you could buy some?
Mm-mm.
That's wild. Kind of feel like either they know something or they're missing something.
Both.
Didn't even see that as an option.
They know they're missing something. Are you ready to see a picture of the Craigellachie distillery?
Yeah, hit me with it, man. I bet it's beautiful.
That's it.
Oh.
All right. Anyway. Oop, cheers.
Cheers.
On the nose? Regular Craigellachie 13?
Craigellachie.
Ooh, buddy. There's a lot of sherry on that nose.
Yep.
Sherry.
Yep. Sherry, and I think like definitively like, yeah, ex-bourbon.
Oh, for sure. It's like I get sherry first, so like these jammy notes.
Yep.
And then bourbon. Now that we say bourbon, like that's all I'm getting now.
Yeah. I'm in the opposite. Like I was nosing the bourbon first. Now I'm just getting the sherry. Very whiny. It complains.
Yeah,
a
it's
lot.
a lot. Like it's a little much, Craigellachie.
I know you're 13, but like time to grow up.
Man, that nose is delightful. It's actually a little bit rough and rugged. To me, it's like it's 92, but it's like a little bit it's got some punchy notes.
Yeah, that and like I've been aggressively swirling over here.
Yeah, me too.
And it's like really releasing the malty, grainy nature of it.
Yeah,
is really coming through.
I wouldn't say characteristically Speyside. Like there's something. It's maybe too much bourbon or too much like spicy, where it's not like it's not as friendly as I'm thinking. Like just a really like easygoing, friendly Speyside Scotch.
Right. Yeah. There's a little funk on it.
Yeah.
Little armpit or something. little musty.
Yeah. I'm going in.
Okay.
No sniffing. Ooh. I forgot how much I love Craigellachie. Man.
Yeah. Like I think the ex-bourbon cask is heavily featured.
Oh, for sure.
Very caramelly smooth.
And I think that's where the rugged nature comes from too. Like it's a bit spicy.
Sure.
Especially on the very back end of the palate. Like that's where the like
yeah, almost a touch of pepper.
Yeah. This is my proof positive of a Scotch at 92 is way more interesting than a bourbon at 92.
Yeah. I mean, and certainly it's got to be more from just age.
Oh, for sure.
Second sip for me is like it's starting to lean citrusy and like specifically like citrus rind.
Definitely. Little pith.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I totally agree. Like the depth of flavor, there's just so much more going on in a Scotch at 92. And a bourbon at 92 is just, they're hard to find the interesting ones.
I think what happens at 92 across a lot of bourbons is that they all end up being roughly the same.
Right.
The notes are good, but they all are roughly the same. But if you were to give me 4 different Scotches all at 92, you're going to have 4 dramatically different experiences.
Yeah.
Or the possibility.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And I feel like bourbon at 92 is watery and weak and thin. Whereas Scotch, I feel like can still be viscous and have a great
Developed,
mouthfeel
yeah.
and have just a more nuanced flavor profile.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Are we going to the Armagnac?
Yeah, let's go to the Boss Armagnac.
Okay. Ooh, say that again for
The
me.
Boss Armagnac. Armagnac.
Ooh. Yeah, definitely a couple shades lighter. Like this is in my head what like the shade of Scotch. Whereas the Craigellachie is a little more bourbony.
Yeah, it's a little leans more into more of a bourbony color. Not quite there,
Yeah,
but definitely on its way there.
for sure.
And this is like very much like Pinot Grigio.
Agreed.
Like when I think of Scotch, generally this is where my head goes.
Right. Smell that. Put your sniffer in that.
Yeah, that definitely goes more into like a wine nature.
And sweet wine to me.
Yeah.
It's like it's very much sweet wine.
It's still confusing to me that it is still 13 years of Craigellachie
Yeah.
and then finished in this Armagnac.
Uh-huh.
It's surprising that it is that much lighter.
Sure.
When you're still assuming that it's the same process, so it just must have been a lighter year.
Could be. It imparts,
But it's all still there.
It's all still there.
Underneath it.
It's Craigellachie, but then there's this like just another layer going past that.
Oh yeah, like a much fresher, more lemony direction.
Oh, I'm going to say lemony more on the Craigellachie, the normal Craigellachie. But I do think fresher and more floral on the Armagnac.
To me, I still get the jammy, darker wine notes on the Craigellachie, the sherry aspect of it.
Okay.
The Armagnac is way more bright wine nosed. And yeah, like I feel like I can like pinpoint brandy, like that grapey nature.
On the Armagnac? Yeah.
It smells like white grape juice.
It really does. It really, like, I'm like, white, oh yeah.
Like Welch's white grape juice.
It does. It really does. All right. I'm ready.
Yep.
Diving in. Huh. And I don't know if it's just because you said Welch's white grape juice, but that's all I get on the palate.
Definitely a touch of that. I think the Armagnac influence on this is very noticeable.
For sure. Is it just me, or is the palate like way more drying? It's like a effect.
It's that. It is. It's more. I would say it's a more neutral palate.
Mm-hmm.
The flavors that are coming through are not as spiky and independent.
Definitely not. But the spicy, peppery note's still there, but it's not offset by as much sweet.
Right. Yeah. The sweetness is not. It's not what you would expect.
That throws me completely.
It's again. I mean, it's there, but it's. I would say it's more subtle in the Armagnac.
For sure it is. I would expect it to be much more prominent because it's a cognac. You're going to get more of those grapey notes. You're going to get more of that sweetness. But I'm getting like, it's just tannic.
Yeah.
Very like, it's very white wine.
Yeah. To me, it's interesting that it's got so much cask influence. And I guess it is exactly what you would expect that influence to be.
Sure.
But you're just thinking on top of, like, again, if this is the same single malt,
mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't expect it to hide what's in here.
Right.
Because that's what it kind of feels like it's doing. It feels like it's hiding the flavors of the Craigellachie 13.
Okay.
And then presenting the flavors of the Armagnac. And that's just
that's
doesn't
not
make
what's doing.
sense in my head that it could do that.
All of the regular Craigellachie should be in this glass of the Armagnac. And you're right, it's not.
Right.
In fact, like I would say that the Armagnac is covering up 85% of what the Craigellachie is.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like just neutralizing it.
I think that's a really good way of saying it. It's like I can still get roughly some of those same notes, but the Armagnac cask is just
It's like
it's cutting it off.
it's just like threw a blanket on it.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
settle
I'm gonna say it, man. If you gave me a choice between the two, I'm gonna take the regular Craigellachie
all day.
because like that, the beautiful sherry notes accentuated with the bourbon and the rugged spiciness on that back end, that's fantastic.
Yep.
And you do get some of that with the Armagnac, but it's like you're right. It's you put a blanket over it and you just started to like just mute it.
Yeah.
And it's too much muting.
And what you're left with is nice and pleasant, but it's just not as interesting and delightful as it was already.
For sure. And I think if I just had this by itself, it's fantastic.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that's the both the beauty and the downside of comparing things.
Right.
Is that like, oh, okay, I see which one I like better.
Yeah.
But had we just done the Armagnac by itself, I think it's great.
Yeah, sure. Delightful. I think it would be interesting to try that against like a classic Lottie.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like it has like a similar thing happening
the
to
Armagnac against the Classic Lottie?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah. But as well as I know the Classic Lottie, it has more of the malty notes. So
Right.
I think like the sweetness too comes out. And
I'm kind of thinking that's what it is. I'm thinking maybe the Armagnac, that brandy note that it's providing is neutralizing the malty nature.
So. I agree with you completely.
To me, it's like you threw a wet blanket over Craigellachie because it was on fire, and you stamped it out.
Yeah.
And then like just what you were left with was like this Armagnac, and it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all still there. Like I still get it, but it's just been suffocated.
I'm gonna say regular Craigellachie.
Oh yeah.
I know that we just said it, but like I even like mulling it over and like I really want to like special bottlings because like it's here's the regular thing, here's something cool. But I think in this case, regular Craigellachie.
I think it's also too one of those things of once you've had enough of a thing, you want to taste that concept in different ways. You know, it's like all the Bunnahavens you got.
Exactly.
Like Bunnahaven 12 is still probably like in the top 2 of every Bunnahaven we've ever had.
No joke.
You know, but it's still fun to try all the different things that they do and try.
Absolutely.
I think it's the same thing. Like, yeah, no, this is fantastic to try it and to see something different from a brand that you already like. Cool, it's fun. Yeah, do I like it better than your normal release? No, but still it's fun.
And can I say that that's also where my thoughts on bourbon and scotch differ too. In 9 times out of 10, I like your special bottlings in bourbon more than I like the regular bottling.
Interesting.
And in scotch, more often than not, I find myself liking the normal bottling over the special bottling.
Right. I think it's fun though.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
know, it's just fun to try the different things from them, just to see what they can do. Just to, because you never know until you know.
Exactly.
And now we know.
Now we know. All right, Kyle, now that we've had 2 fantastic pours by Craigellachie, what do you want to talk about this week?
I heard a really interesting story the other day.
Tell me.
I was listening to some classical music, like I do from time to time. I'm not really sophisticated that way. Really into philosophy and classical music, personally.
Smoking a pipe.
18th century literature. Love that shit.
Hold on. Name me one 18th century author.
Voltaire.
Continue.
Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Is he 1700?
Yeah.
French author. Voltaire.
Nailed it.
George Washington. Thomas Jefferson.
Go ahead.
The piece they were about to play was the Carnival of the Animals.
Is that
it?
No.
Okay. This is it's composed by Camille Saint-Saëns.
Oh, is that why you went French?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why we did the Armagnac.
Yeah.
And
Voltaire.
And Voltaire. The story goes the way that the radio DJ. I was listening to NPR. I don't know if we can name drop like that.
Sure.
Friends of the podcast NPR.
Well, they also sponsor the podcast.
Right. And this
you know
was
who sponsors NPR? Amazon. So we got Amazon money, Kyle. I know.
Incredible. The way that the radio host, the way he was explaining it was that Saint-Saëns wrote this piece.
Okay.
One for chamber orchestra, meaning like a super teeny tiny little orchestra that you can fit into a chamber room, a tiny room.
Oh, like
So
these
just
are
like-
normal size.
Just like a minimal, the smallest accoutrement of musical artists that you could say is an orchestra.
So one violinist, one cellist,
one bass,
one bassist,
one trumpet,
one trumpetist,
one snare drum in
bass.
the back.
Correct.
I don't know, but anyway, small.
You got a date for this?
You know I do.
Okay. Let me Wikipedia that shit real quick.
Well, ironically enough, I'm on Wikipedia. It says
I
that
can tell.
it says that it was published in 1922,
Oh,
which
okay.
is the year after his death.
Interesting.
So, according to this story that I'm in the middle of telling, that's not when it was written. Because the way that again,
tell me the story. Just get to the story.
it was written for chamber orchestra.
Gotcha.
Small group, because he wrote it for a dinner party that he was having. He was having some friends over, and he wanted to write a piece of music for the party,
As one does.
for the event.
Sure.
And this was the piece that he wrote. So it needed to be for a small orchestra because I assume it was at his house.
Yeah.
And so it was just like he's got an orchestra in the corner, like we normally all do whenever we have parties. And they wrote this, or they performed this piece that he just wrote for the party. It was never meant to be played ever again. Here, we'll put in a little bit right here, just like the classic. This is the Carnival of the Animals.
Okay. The
The
one
bit that everybody knows.
Yeah, which is the flamingo piece, I think.
Nah, that was well, it was the flamingo piece in Fantasia 2000.
Oh, okay.
That's where it was popularized, but I don't think it's the flamingo piece. The flamingo section of the song is actually not what they used for the flamingo. Anyway,
Yeah.
here. This isn't it. This is an ad. Kind of jazzy. Not bad. I don't think it says though. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
So it was meant to be this like very light, airy, just kind of festive, fun thing that he was just playing for his friends. You know, I don't know if it was just like not something that he really put a lot of effort and like thought and like maybe contemplation into. And that's why he kind of wanted it to just be
Like a one-off?
a one-off
Yeah.
thing. But it was just like for a unique kind of experience. But I was like fascinated by that because now, obviously, this piece is now turned into this kind of everybody's heard it.
Iconic,
Yeah, this huge classical piece that everybody that's lived since then knows.
Right.
And that just kind of like blew my mind that it was just something that he just threw together, performed for his friends, and it was his friends were just like, nah, man, this is better than just this moment.
Right.
Like, let's let this be a thing.
So like, I think about that as a couple of things. First of all, like,
First of all, is that a true story? We don't know.
have
There's
no
no way to
idea.
fact check. Guy on the radio said it was, and I'm just living in that life of like, if you told me it was, and if you hear it on the radio, it has to be true. It's not the internet. I didn't read it on the internet. I heard it on the radio.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, it was NPR.
Right.
Take that for what you will, but it was NPR.
You know, we know.
Correct.
Don't come at us.
Exactly. But I'm struck by a couple things. First of all, like, I don't know any of, what was his name?
Saint Saëns.
I don't know any of Saint Saëns' other music, or maybe I do and I just don't know that I know it. But like, I know that piece and I know the iconic nature of that piece. So I'm surprised in so much as like it was something that was throwaway. But I think about these almost like, I'm going to call it a spark of genius, or like I think a spark of genius works. Of like, I did this thing, I did it like for nobody else, and I wasn't trying to make it into something.
Right.
I wasn't composing the 12th symphony. I
Right.
wasn't painting for the Duke of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Like,
ironically, he was supposed to have been working on his third symphony,
and he made that.
and he made this as fun
right.
on the side. But I think even he, like, I'm doing like lap
Research on the
research
fly. Yeah, sure.
right quick, and like even he recognized that like this is just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
but it's there's something about it. It's really good.
Well, like I'm struck. I come back to like "Creep" by Radiohead,
Sure.
and like that is a very recognizable song.
Right.
And they, from if I remember the story correctly, like they recorded it in like 1 or 2 takes, and like they really didn't like the take of the song that they did, but like it stuck, and now it's this iconic song kind of thing. And so I think that there's elements of genius. I said spark of genius, elements of genius, and elements of like, I wasn't trying to do this thing and I just did it. Like this is organically me.
Yeah, it's almost like the artist on autopilot.
Correct.
It's like I'm meant to be working on this much larger, more stressful, more time-consuming, mind-consuming piece.
Right.
And then I took a minute to just like diddle around over here.
Yep.
And made this incredible thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think about like, you know, the dishes that I've made for people, food dishes, right?
Right.
Not like, I'm not like out there, molding dishes.
Yeah.
I'm
you
making,
could.
I could. Yeah. I'm very skilled in the arts.
Yeah.
As you well know.
Right.
But like the food that I've made for people, some of the best food that I've made, I can't actually replicate. Now I know that like Schubert, what's his name?
Saint Saëns.
Right. At least Schubert's a composer.
Sure.
I know that he wrote this down, so like there's record of it. But I'm thinking like the best dishes that I've made, I can't recreate because it was like a spark. I'm gonna call it a spark of genius. I know. Or it was like this thing that I did, and like that was it. Whoa.
Right.
You make a new recipe and you don't follow the recipe exactly right, and it just turns out perfect.
Right.
And you're like, well, shit.
Yeah.
I can't make that again.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the nature of creativity in some way of like, look at how cool this thing was. It just so happened that his version of creativity is written down.
Right. Well, that, and I think it's the perfect example too of the artist's struggles to become the artist.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken me all this time. It's taken me so many years to build up the skill to be able to write a whole symphony.
Right.
I've put so much work into that so that when I come over here to just play, all of that knowledge is already still in there. And so magic can happen in that little free time also.
Right.
There was like
and the play is just as fun and maybe even more so.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it can be absolutely just as rewarding.
Right.
There's like a really common saying in terms of like being an artist where somebody will ask you, well, oh man, that thing that you just made there, that's amazing. How long did it take you to make that? And the response is, well, it took me, let's say, 3 hours to make it.
And 37 years.
But it took me 37 years to learn how to be able to make that in 3 hours.
Correct.
And I think that's like the perfect example of that.
Exactly. I think we've mentioned this before. I know we have, of like, it can be done quick, it can be done cheap, or it can be done well.
Yeah.
Choose two.
Right.
Because like you're not getting all three.
Get all three.
Right. And it's that same thing of like you're paying a mechanic or a builder or an artist. You're not paying them to make the piece. You're really paying them for the 37 years it took them to get to that piece.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But it sounds like in that example, you did get all three.
Yeah.
It was free.
Yeah.
You didn't mean to do it. It was great. and he did it quickly while he was supposed to be doing other shit. That's what it sounds like. He messed up.
He messed up. Yeah. Or he figured it out. One of the two.
Yeah, somewhere in there, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Perhaps the minutia of it is a little hazy, but that it was not like the thing that he was going to be most proud of and the thing that he was going to be putting all of his effort into. It sounds like it was something that just quickly came about and is perhaps his most famous work.
And I think that's my takeaway from it too, is that so often we want to elevate, in this case, art, but elevate our pursuits to this like level of this is the serious thing I'm doing.
Right.
When in some cases it's the play that's actually the more important and the more meaningful thing.
But I think you've got to go through the struggles.
You have to. I literally was going there.
of the hard contemplative work.
Yes.
To be able to play so well.
Yeah. On that note. You got anything else?
No.
We've got no further whiskey in our glass.
Yeah, no. That was perfect timing.
I have nothing else on Schlermendinger.
Yeah. Me neither.
Okay.
Yours sounded dirty.
Schlermendinger?
Saint-Son. Camille Saint-Son.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schlangenfinger.
I didn't say Schlangenfinger.
Yeah.
I said Schlermendinger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Camille Saint-Saëns. That's what I said.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Well, we'd love to know, what do you think about the Craigellachie line of single malt Scotch whiskeys?
Yeah. Have you had any other of the Craigellachie line? Because, I mean, over here, like these are literally like the only two bottles of, well, we had that Craigellachie on the boat.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
A fantastic one, though.
Yeah, that cask strength.
And to tease everybody else, we've got a Craigellachie signatory vintage unchill filter collection.
Is it?
It is. Yeah.
I feel like I was looking at that the other day. I didn't think you got the Craigellachie. I thought you got the other bottle that you were looking at.
I'm like 90% certain it's a Craigellachie because that's why you were saving one.
I know, but then I was there when I was there over there last.
Yeah,
I looked at it,
and I'm pretty sure it's a Craigellachie. I could be wrong.
Mortlock and a Craigellachie together?
I got both. No, it's two separate bottles.
Oh.
I got both. I bought both.
I thought, because like I was pretty sure that day when I was in Alabama, it was like, it's one or the other. Which one am I getting?
I bought both.
And I thought we said, let's do the Craigellachie. So when I saw, or you showed me the Mortlock,
yeah,
I was like, oh, okay, so he went with the Mortlock.
No,
cool,
I bought both.
Damn it.
Well, it's okay because we got that in the future.
Yeah, because it's all good. But I just that's why I suggested that today.
No, it's all right. We'd also love to know, what do you think about these, what are we going to call them, sparks of genius that turn out to be
just one little spark, like Figment.
There you go.
At Epcot.
Yeah.
One little spark. Yeah. Or do you have an example of something like that?
Oh,
where just on a whim of a thing, you came up with this like really great idea or dish?
Yeah.
Product,
whatever.
Just had this interesting, stroke of genius.
Yeah.
I think he's having a stroke of genius.
On that note, you can get in touch with us through email. It's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
On social media, it's always one word, Drep and Stone. DREP and Stone. Find us wherever you like to socialize media and, socialize with some of ours.
And honestly, if you haven't followed us, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's a little discerning at this point.
Disconcerting.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're not discerning enough to follow Drep and Stone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're
so
concerned for you.
I am concerned.
Are you okay?
Is everything fine?
Yeah.
If not, reach out to us and we'll help you.
Poke us twice.
Sure.
Is that still a thing? Can you still poke?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Who knows? And if you'd like to support the podcast, we would greatly appreciate it. You can do so on Patreon. You can leave a review, and you can tell someone about the podcast. Super simple, easy stuff.
And diddly doodly. And doodly diddly.
Hey, buddy.
I've said diddle twice in this episode. It's rough.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.